Welcome to tonight's feature. Today we're gonna review the first episode of The Twilight Zone. First aired in 1959. The first episode starts with the narrator explaining what The Twilight Zone is. The Twilight Zone is a series of stories told by people that they are recreating with actors. The first story is about a man. We see a man coming down a road and walking into a cafe. Seemingly seems like he just wants to have some food and some coffee. When entering the cafe, there's loud music, extremely loud music. So he's screaming to the people owning the place, well, isn't the sound a little bit loud? And he pretty much talks into the air, screaming, well, I'm a customer, I have money, come serve me, I need food and coffee. But nothing happens. There's not people around at all. And that's what this episode is about. Because we can see this man wandering from place to place. He leaves the cafe, enters a town, and it's empty. He's screaming, is there anybody around? Can anybody hear me? And nothing. All of a sudden he sees a silhouette in a car. And he thinks it's a woman sitting there. So he's so glad that he finally found someone that's a real person that he can talk to. As he approaches the car, he finds out that it's a mannequin doll. Yet again, it's not a human being. So we can see the distress in this man. He's really trying to figure out what's happening. And us as a viewer are starting to think, is he a ghost maybe? Maybe he's a ghost? What's the deal with the people not being around? So he's yelling into the mannequin factory, is there anybody around? Nothing. So he enters the police station and takes a look around because there should be police officers in this town if there's people here. He enters the police station and there's nothing there, but he sees there's a lighted cigarette in the reception area. So he thinks, why is this lighted up? And suddenly he hears a sound from the prison cells in the other room. So he walks into the prison to see if there's any people there. And he can see water running, and it seems like somebody just shaved, but there's no people around. And all of a sudden we can see a shadow behind him that's starting to close the door. And he turns around just in a heat of the second, and there's nobody around, but you can see the shadow is disappearing throughout the door. So us as a viewer are thinking there's people here, but why can't he see them? And while I was watching this, my perception was this guy is a ghost. He's living in an in-between world kind of place because he most likely died. So he keeps wandering around. He hears a phone ringing and he picks up the phone because somebody's ringing the phone. And he picks up, it's nobody there. So he takes a coin from his pocket and tries to call the operator, which is an automatic operator. There's no human in the other end. So he starts to freak out and he can't get out the phone box. He's, slowly starting to freak out. Then we switch to him having waited a whole day. So he sits on a bench and it's getting dark. And all of a sudden, all the lights in the city turns on. So he thinks, well, there should be people here because the lights are turning on. And all of a sudden the cinema also starts. We can see this theater with a movie showing. And he walks over to the cinema to see what kind of movie is showing. And he sees I think he sees himself because the picture looks like him. And I started thinking, well, for sure he's a ghost. This is the deal here. So, and he also remembers because this guy has amnesia. I didn't tell you that earlier, but this guy can't remember his name. And he has amnesia. He has no idea where he is in this town. He can't remember anything by himself. But when the theater starts, he remembers he's a pilot in the military. And he remembers something about the bomb, and he is trying to figure out what happened to him. And once again, we get the feeling, well, this guy has been in a war, maybe. Maybe he was blown up because he was starting to talk about bombs. So most likely he would have died, was my thought. So he enters the cinema, and sits down, and all of a sudden the movie that is showing is starting to play. And yet again, there's nobody in the movie booth up there, because it walks up to ask the people if, can you hear me? Are there anybody there? Nothing. So while doing these twists and turns, he finds a bookstore. He looks at the bookstore and he finds a book that's named The Last Man on Earth. So all the way we are getting small nudges that this is a guy that's all alone. He's trying to figure out why he's all alone, why are all the people gone, and so on and so on. And at some point he just snaps, and he's starting to cry and yell out that he wants to wake up, because throughout the episode he has kind of given us a hint that, well, I'm dreaming, I need to wake up now, but nothing is happening. So in the end, we see him just freaking out, totally melting down, and are pushing this traffic button for the traffic lights. Let me out, let me out, let me out. Then the episode twists around and we see a storage area or a base of some sort and a bunch of military people. And here's the twist in the episode, because we can now see the other side, why he is there and doing what he does, because the military is having him in some kind of simulation. He's connected to a bunch of wires, and he's in his sleep apparently crying, let me out, let me out, let me out. So the general is telling, well, abort, get him out of there. So a bunch of soldiers are running over there to plug him out and stuff like that, and yeah, he wakes up. Now, it turns out that this episode is all about the loneliness and people needing people to survive, I guess. The human connection, some sort of. Because the episode here is kind of showing us that the military is testing people to can comprehend loneliness, because it seems like they are thinking about sending people to the moon. And it looks like, and it sounds like that he is gonna be sent out by himself and that he needs to be able to handle this. So they're testing soldiers to see if they can handle the loneliness when they are going out into space. Because that's, in the 1950s, that is the big thing, apparently, to get into space and be a new frontier of some kind. So we see they zoom in on him and they tell him that next time you will be alone for real. This time it was a test to see how we can comprehend it, but next time it will be you alone. So be prepared. So he looks up to the moon and say that don't walk away or don't disappear, I'm coming soon, and stuff like that. So the episode is a twist, kind of in the end, that the military is testing people to stretch out their mind and try to be able to live in a simulation of some sort. To go further and further into space, probably in some kind of incubation type of thing, because the other soldier is telling that they can feed him with this and that and keeping him keeping him alive and stuff like that. But the thing they haven't cracked yet is the human emotion for human contact, that they can feed him whatever they want, but the human touch with the human contact and stuff like that, they have not cracked yet. So I think it's a lesson, I guess. The episode is a lesson that people, even though they are alone, need people around them to be able to keep living, I guess. So it was a good first episode. I didn't get bored 1 second. I was like, well, what's happening with this guy? What's the deal? Why is he all alone? He walks in from this store to that store to just completely alone. And there are some things that seems like there are people here, but what is it? And in the end of the episode, you can see small hints that he have seen throughout the walk around in the empty city, I guess. A watch. He saw a watch in the first cafe we saw. It has some kind of time limit on it, and it turns out that the time on that clock is actually the time in his simulation booth when he snaps out of it. So there's small hints of stuff hidden in the episode that has something to do with where he is in the end, I guess. So it's an interesting episode, and it's a good first episode. There's a pilot that's an hour before the first episode. I did not want to review that because it was not the best episode, so I just jumped right into the first episode. And it was a good episode, and I encourage you guys to watch it if you haven't, because even though it's old, it's a classic type of series already from episode 1 that will keep you remember and think about it, because it was kind of freaky being the last man alive. The closest thing I've seen in the later years is I Am Legend, but he wasn't alone, they had zombies. But yeah, it was a cool episode. So yeah, that was my first review of the Twilight Zone episode 1. I'm gonna keep doing reviews of the series, not all of the episodes, but every episode here and there I'm gonna do a review of. So yeah, thanks for watching tonight's feature.